Nobody can afford, but particularly in this day and age, nobody can afford to be in stasis. We have to constantly train, be educated, go to conferences, get out there and understand the threat, and also understand our science and keep pursuing it and maintaining the discipline, maintaining our skill sets, so we're always one ahead of whoever would do us harm.
There was a bigger piece of it too.
There's like 4 pieces of it.
Yeah, I found a bigger piece of that with that balloon. I just don't know. The receiver.
At the blast scenes, agents are close to putting together the pieces of their destructive puzzle.
What else do you need?
What else do you need on a receiver in order for that?
Power and an antenna to receive the signal.
Did you guys find any antenna?
No.
Picture, if you will, kid's remote control car has motors inside that turn and twist, and that's how they operate. And that's how the wheels turn and the wheels go. We found a small motor in there and a couple of remote control arms. What we think was he set the device in the berm to wait the victim driving by. From his observation point, used the remote control to close the circuit and detonate the device. What you've got here is you've got this device, this heavy metal pipe, and a thin layer of copper or lighter steel inside here with a concave face. When this explosive is set off back here, this comes out and forms a slug. It's called an explosively formed projectile. It's extremely lethal, even against up-armored vehicles. These are feared devices. You don't want to be in a vehicle that's hit by one of these because it will cut right through the armor. When you start finding things like this little thing, this little small piece of foil, that's the make of the remote control device, Futaba, and maybe the model, we don't know, S3003. I mean, that's a small light piece, and it was sitting right next to, whatever explosive set that off. Everybody leaves something behind, and bombs leave something behind, and they leave a lot more, really, than I kind of thought. It's been an eye opener for me.
They're right on target. They got all the pieces that they need to do, more than I thought they would get. They got a lot of the real small pieces that are hard to identify, but because they did a methodical search, they were able to pick it all up.
Putting an IED back together, determining the cause of death, or collecting the blood and bullets necessary to process a combat crime scene are not the last steps for forensic evidence. That stop is USACIL, the Army's crime lab at Fort Gillem, Georgia.
The laboratory is about 125,000 square feet now, and we're growing into a third expansion here in the near future.
Believe it or not, the military has its share of crimes. We receive about 3,000 cases a year here at our facility from around the world. We provide forensic laboratory support to the entire Department of Defense. We receive tens of thousands of items of evidence from criminal investigations around DoD.
There are 2 different types of evidence. It's non-porous items of evidence and porous items of evidence. Non-porous items of evidence are those items of evidence, if you put the latent print deposit on it, it just sits on the surface. Porous items of evidence would actually absorb that latent print deposit.
This can has been superglue fumed to preserve any of the prints that are on it. A chemical dye stained rhodamine 6G was applied to it, and you can see all the fingerprints that were developed. And in order to visualize it, you bring it under the laser at 532 nanometers. It's a green light, and it allows you to visualize any of the latent prints.
The processes for porous and non-porous items of evidence are different, but they both are placed eventually in the photo enhancement software, and both are compared to record prints and potentially could be identifying a suspect. Once we conduct a latent print examination and the examiner finds that the latent print was not made by any of the record prints that were submitted, we then submit it to our APHIS department, which is the Automated Fingerprint Identification System, and then it's searched against the databases that's available to USACIL.
Latent prints are just one of the 7 technical disciplines that USACIL covers. including drug chemistry, forensic documents, digital evidence, and trace evidence.
Trace evidence is small items of evidence. Usually you need the aid of a microscope or instrumentation to be able to see it, analyze it, or compare it. On our end, as the examiner's end, as well as the agent's end, it's always rewarding to find that needle in the haystack, that one piece of evidence that may be able to link, again, individuals to a scene or solve the case.
And finally, the discipline that often deals with the deadliest evidence, firearms. Will the bullets and casings found at a crime scene match the weapon left behind? First, the processed gun is reloaded. Next, the gun is fired into a water chamber. And finally, the casings and bullets are retrieved.
I'm conducting a microscopic comparison of a questioned cartridge case found at a crime scene to the test-fired cartridge case that I just recovered from the water recovery system. And what I'm looking at right now is the one on the left is your evidence cartridge case, and the one on your right is your test fire. And I'm looking for these imperfections or irregularities that are caused during the firing process. And you can see how they match up. This is a positive identification that both of these cartridge cases were fired in the same firearm to the exclusion of all other firearms manufactured.
I think there's a growing expectation over the last 10, 15 years that information generated by the forensic sciences through what we do in crime labs will be available. The public in general, a lot of juries are expecting that forensic science evidence in trials, and a lot of investigators have become very dependent on information that is generated in crime labs by the forensic sciences to help in their investigations.
Finding a needle in a haystack, looking for the part that doesn't fit the rest of the puzzle, combing through a debris field in the middle of a combat zone. These are everyday activities for the agents who work in military forensics. One of the biggest challenges they face, television.
Abs. Abby.
I wish everything was solved in an hour. I do work a lot of cold cases, which have been going on for decades. So if things could be solved in an hour, that'd be great. As far as the basic principles that the TV shows use, I think that they're good intentions and they're based on our basic foundation for how you actually work a scene. However, we actually don't look as attractive working scenes. You're going to be in a biohazard suit and you're wearing things to protect yourself from whatever the scene is on there. So it's not a glamorous job.
For me, it's real life. It's taking what a lot of people see on TV in dramas or crime dramas or the news, and I'm actually out there in it. I'm involved in it. It's that aspect of it. It's real life, and sometimes I have to stand back and realize that this is, is really happening. I'm really investigating a murder or a death or a sexual assault, and that it's a real deal for these people, the victims as well as the witnesses. And I think that's what motivates me the most, is that it feels like I'm giving back.
Is there a difference between forensics and military forensics? Probably not stateside, but absolutely once agents are deployed. And the technology is always changing to meet the needs of those deployed to combat zones. Can forensic evidence alone solve a crime? Maybe, maybe not. But without it, you might not have a case. I'm Sergeant John Mann, and this is Recon.